Well, I'm going to mute.
Give folks another minute or two, Karen, before we.
Hey, Mason, I was just on the phone with Ron, our speaker. He's
Okay.
struggling a little with his computer. So he just needs a few minutes, which I said we had a few things to go over anyway. So.
Okay. Well, hopefully he can get his tech issues worked out.
Well, we've got a little time, so. And we have Kate coming on before, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Certainly, everyone can kind of take their time with their portions, knowing that our guest speaker for the day is still trying to work through some tech issues. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So join me if you're able to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Karen. Before we get to the next slides with the birthday, I'm not sure if anybody has anyone in our Rotary family to keep in our thoughts. So please, speak up when they come to mind. But certainly, I think we should have a moment of silence for the community of Perry, specifically the Jolliffe family, and for Amir Jolliffe. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but he was the sixth grader at Perry Middle School who was murdered last week, and certainly many others were wounded and had to fight for their lives, and maybe more continue to fight for their lives. But community of Perry is certainly wounded with what happened, and it's going to take a long time to recover. So let's take a moment of silence to keep that community in our thoughts and prayers today. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in our Rotary family that comes to mind?
Yeah, this is Jody Stumbo. Excuse me. Julie Pike passed away this weekend. Harold's wife.
Thank you for letting us know, Jody. Okay. Any others? Okay, let's take a moment to think of Harold and the Pike family. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, I'll spare you the indignity of having to listen to me sing "Happy Birthday" on here. So we'll just, if your name's on the screen, happy birthday, and you got lucky. You kind of missed out on having to stand up and be serenaded at our in-person meeting, which we still could do next week. I am the president. I can make that happen. But if your name's on the screen and your birthday is in January, well, we certainly wish you a happy birthday. Unless Louis wants to sing to himself, because it is his birthday on here. So I'm sure he'll probably pass. But all right, happy birthday to everybody. Thank you for being a member. Look, a great list here from Dave at 33 years down to Chris at 1 year. So everybody on the screen, certainly thank you for being a member of Rotary. And another reminder. So if some of you may have New Year's resolution plans where you're trying to shed a few pounds, here's an easy way to cut a few pounds out of your closet. And reminder, please go through your closet. If there's something in there you haven't worn for a year or two, or is out of style. Most of my clothes are out of style, so I couldn't I couldn't use that as the criteria. If you talk to my wife, she'll attest to that. But there were plenty of things in there I hadn't worn in a year, and so gathered those up, took them over to Overflow on Duff Avenue, the one that's close to Lincoln intersection of Lincoln Way, and dropped off 37 pounds. So I shed 37 pounds this New Year's already. So another reminder for that those donations are very much appreciated, and thanks to Sandy, 5 cents per pound will up to $500 will go to the Bridge Home, and to help with that great organization and cause. And started back in November, and we're running through April. So please take a look through your closet, throw them in, get everything folded up, put it in a bag or something, take it in, and then fill out the card, which I'll bring that next week. So also blood donation. I know we haven't done anything real formalized just yet. I'm still thinking about how we can maybe do a blood drive, but in light of what happened last week in Perry, there is a critical need for blood supply in this area. And so and another example, to lead by example, it'd been a long time since I donated blood. I went in last Friday to the LifeServe Blood Center off of Wheeler Street in Ames. And folks, I gotta be honest, it couldn't be easier. You have to, kind of pre-qualify and do some pre-screening stuff, but I was in and out of there in 30 minutes. It's that efficient and that quick. So I know some of you may be squeamish and don't like needles and blood and all that. So, or maybe not able to for certain reasons. So certainly understand that, but please give it some thought. And there is a critical need right now. And yet again, would be another thing to kind of check off some of the things that District Governor Drager talked about. Anyways, we will move on here. So is Lynn Carey on? You're on mute, Karen. Not sure. Okay. All right. Well, we might skip over that. We can come back to it later, Karen, if Lynn jumps on to. Oh, go ahead, Kent.
I'm on that committee with the scholarship.
Oh, go ahead.
And I'm not sure everything that Lynn was going to share, but we have put together a link and the ability for kids to go online now to join. So we're looking to get the word out. I know efforts are being made to communicate that in the local school districts, and then we'll also reach out to other entities that would be available, like homeschooling. And we're making it more generous. It'll be $1,000 minimum, and it will entail trade schools, community colleges, and of course, university systems, any school that's within the state of Iowa that will help people advance their education. So that's the intent, to open that up to more individuals to hopefully encourage more people to participate.
Okay, so
Karen,
is that all online, Kent?
Say that again.
Do they submit everything online? Is that what the link is for?
Yeah, everything will be online.
Can you share that in the chat? And then
I don't have it. Karen, have you received it yet? Okay, Karen.
I'll send an email out to everyone.
Okay. Yeah, would encourage anybody with connections to local school districts. I'm in the Ballard School District. I'll get that over to folks that I know here in town, but certainly Ames, Gilbert, if they're in, as Kent mentioned, certainly homeschool. So I'm not sure exactly what the proper channel is there, but just getting the word out either on social media or what have you would be great. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay. Deb Schildroth, are you on?
I am on. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. If
Okay.
you could take it away and introduce Kate, she's going to give us a little bit of an update on what she's been working on. So.
All right, I will certainly do that. Thanks, Mason. And I'm going to apologize. My video is not working. We did an update to our computer at home, and I'm not sure where the camera function is now. So I'm going to do this just by voice. So it's my pleasure to introduce fellow Rotarian Kate Reynolds, who's the Ames Area Director for Child Serve. And Child Serve is one of the organizations who received Rotary Community Grant funds last year. And we're going to start bringing back those agencies so they can just give a little update on what they've done with the funds that they've received from Rotary. So without further ado, Kate, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Deb, for that introduction. Karen, I'll just tell you next when I'm ready for you to move on to the next slide. But I am Kate Reynolds and representing Child Serve. I'll talk a little bit about our grant, but I first wanted to just give a quick overview of Child Serve for those of you not familiar. We have a mission to partner with families to help children with special health care needs live a great life. We do that through a wide variety of different services. If you want to go to the next slide, Karen, this just gives a brief overview of Child Serve and Child Serve's role here in the Ames Story County community. Child Serve has been around in various names and forms since 1928. We have not been in the Ames community until about 2000. In 1995, some families started a nonprofit that became very, very popular quickly, and they reached out to Child Serve to see if we could partner to help take over some of those services. And we took advantage of that and introduced new services. So we have been in our current location since 2000, have had several renovations and expansions to that building, culminating with a large expansion just in the last few months, where we doubled the size of the building. So that's what we do up here in Ames. If you want to go to the next slide, to give you an idea of the impact of Child Serve just here in Ames, we serve over 900 children and are hoping to see that number grow as we have expanded our building, which allows us to expand our services. And to give you an idea, it is not just Story County. Story County, 562, that's obviously one of our largest areas, but we do serve children from 29 of Iowa's counties, and many of them come in for our community programs, which was who benefited from our Rotary grant this year. If you want to go to the next page. So the services that received funding from Rotary this year fall under our community services bucket. So on the right-hand side in the green bucket are day habilitation and respite programs. They have summer camps, and that was what was targeted for our grant. But as you can see, there are lots of services that Child Serve offers, and many of the children and young adults that are receiving services in some of our programs are receiving services in other programs, so there's quite a lot of overlap in everything that we provide. And then, yep. So just to give you an idea, our funds that we received, $2,500 to support our summer camp programs. We offer 2 camps in the summertime for both respite, and that's for kind of our younger population, and then for our day habilitation services. Our respite summer camp had 12 children attend. We had 10 staff that were part of that, and you can kind of see the list of field trips and activities. Money for that we received from Rotary went towards a lot of admissions and travel expenses for these. It also went towards supplies and snacks for our kids throughout the day, because on top of all the field trips, there's a lot of just activities that are happening throughout the day, and those always come with lots of needed supplies. On the next slide, you can see we also then had our day habilitation summer programming, and that was a pretty large group this year. We had about 12 staff, and they participated in lots of different activities in the Ames community. They used SciRide to get around town, as well as some field trips. A lot of the young adults that participate in day habilitation are responsible for buying their bus pass and for bringing food. And so some of the Rotary money went to families that was a prohibitive or a barrier to them being able to participate. So it helped to buy bus passes, as well as grocery skills for the group. They planned weekly a meal or a snack that they planned together, planned a grocery list, went shopping, purchased, and then made that meal together. They also worked this year on, they volunteered weekly at the Salvation Army Food Pantry. So that was a big activity for them as well. And then if you want to go to the next slide, Karen, they also did a large group activity where they planned and organized a car wash. Those proceeds were donated to a local food pantry, Food at First. They also started what is called Snack Shack here at Child Serve, where the participants sold snacks and some fidget toys to visitors and staff here at Child Serve. And it was a great opportunity for these young adults to work on customer service skills, inventory skills, and some of their kind of math and money changing skills. So it's a really, really great program this summer. We're excited. Our summer programming goes over the span of 2 fiscal years. June is was in the previous one, and then July and August was in this fiscal year. So we still have a little bit money left that we'll be using to go towards purchasing stuff for the next summer as well. So you guys were able to hit up 2 summer programs. But are there any questions for me before we move on?
Kate, John
Yeah.
Huber, or I didn't get tuned in time. Where are you located? Where's your location? Where's your office?
Sure. We're down off of 13th Street. If I'm talking to college students, I tell them I'm down by the Pizza Ranch. And not to say anything about this audience, but we are also by the Heart Center or Wolf Eye Clinic,
Okay.
tucked away behind there. And if you drive down
Thank you.
13th Street, what's exciting is with the new addition to the building, we have a very visible purple building that is pretty easy to see. So next time you're driving down to 30 or 35 on 13th Street, make sure you take a look and see if you can see us.
Well, I feel really good, Kate, that I fall into the college student group because based on what you would have said, I would have been, oh, okay, I know where the Pizza Ranch is. I was literally
Yep.
just there this weekend.
Pizza Ranch has been a great landmark
Yeah.
for me.
Been a few years since I was in college, but I appreciate falling into that category. So. Well, very good. Thank you so much for that excellent update, Kate, and all the great work that you and your colleagues do at Child Serve for Ames and for Story County. So excellent. I appreciate it.
Can you check chat?
What's that?
Oh, is there something in the chat? Sorry, I didn't look.
Oh, sorry.
Is there? I don't see anything there.
Oh, so with Mainstream and Friendship Arc was the question, comparing my services with Mainstream and Friendship Arc. So in particular, those respite summer and day habilitations are pretty similar to some of the programming that's happening at Mainstream and Friendship Arc. Those programs do tend to focus on some of our older population, young adults, and we do serve children all the way from infancy through 21. But quite honestly, it's just a really good partnership. There are not enough services in the community and in the area for our children and young adults who are looking for supports for community. And so we do have some young adults that participate in our services and also participate in services at Mainstream and Friendship Park. So there is some overlap, very much. We do not have the group homes and some of the year-round day habilitation services that those programs offer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. I appreciate being able to update you guys on everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, Katie, has our guest speaker been able to?
Yep, he's on.
Okay.
So everybody's computers, it's Monday. So, but Ron's here with us. So appreciate you being able to get through that this morning, Ron. I know that's no fun. So I'm going to introduce Ron to you really briefly. Part of his bio and how he came to his position is in his presentation. So I'm just going to quickly let you guys know that this is Ron Edwards, who is the Animal Control Supervisor at the Ames Animal Shelter. Did I say that right, Ron?
That's correct. Animal shelter and animal control, yes.
Okay, and animal control, yes. So thanks so much for joining us, and we're really excited to hear from you.
Absolutely. So do I need to do the slide? Does that, okay.
That works the best if you want to advance your own.
Let's see how well this works. It's been a really long time since I did Zoom, so you have to refresh my memory here.
No problem. So if you have your spread or your slideshow open, you can just hit the share screen bottom at the or share screen. It should be in green on the bottom of your Zoom window.
Let's see. I'm only seeing that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Share.
But yep, they'll be coming in shortly. So
That's not what I wanted. Okay, let's see.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, but I would just go ahead.
So share screen.
Yeah, no, as far as just having the door closed, because I'll be taking that back.
Maybe, possibly. Are you seeing that?
Not yet.
Nope.
Do you have your PowerPoint open?
I do. I'm looking at it on my screen. Display settings.
I'm happy to do it for you, Ron, if you want to
You know,
just take window advance.
If you don't mind, that would be great. Sorry.
You bet. That's okay. Somebody might need to tell me if there's a better way to do this. I don't know how to put it in presentation mode for a PDF. I don't know if anybody else does, but that's okay.
We've got a visual. So
Funny. Okay, perfect.
Work with it. Yep.
Good.
All right. I'm much better with animals than I am with computers and stuff. So I apologize about that.
No problem.
So a little bit about our shelter. We are very proud to be a no-kill shelter here for the Ames community. We're a division in the Ames Police Department, so I report directly to the Chief of Police. The animal control function of our operation is a law enforcement operation. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we deal with on that side of things when we get to that point. We have 8 staff members, 3 are full-time, 5 are part-time, and we have about 150 active volunteers that help us out and make us as successful as we are to where we're able to achieve no-kill success. We're very fortunate. We were recognized by the Ames City Council not long ago and the Best Friends Animal Society in Utah for achieving no-kill status here in our community in 2022. They just started kind of putting that award out there, but we've achieved no-kill status for quite a while, actually. Something that I'm very proud of and something that I have committed my entire career to. If you want to go to the next slide. So a little bit about me. I've been in this industry for over 38 years now. Started my job started this work in this field at Los Angeles County Animal Care and Control. I was born and raised in California. I actually do not like the sun, so the weather we're having right now is perfect for me. I knew I was on the downhill side to retirement, so I knew that I didn't want to retire in California where I lived my entire life. So made the trip here. But when I started at LA County, we took in over 90,000. That's not a typo. That's 90,000 animals a year. And less than half of them left alive. So starting my career when I was in high school with those numbers was just something that I absolutely made the decision in life-changing career path that I was going to do better than that. I needed to save more animals' lives. And so in my progression throughout my career, I've been now with 4 different agencies. The second one, the Southeast Area Animal Control Authority, it's a city municipal animal shelter. They took in 30,000 animals a year, but still less than half of them ever left the shelter alive. And then I was very fortunate to go to the Irvine Animal Care Center, which is a city-run municipal shelter. We only took in 4,500 animals a year, but we had over 90% of those animals that left the shelter alive. We actually received the Animal Shelter of the Year award, which is a nationwide award, something I'm very proud of. They flew us to New York and had a great presentation for that. And then we had the Third Chance for Pets program, which is a program that I put together to help save more animals at shelters. And I thought of the 2 shelters that I had been with previously, Southeast Animal Control and then LA County, and how those animals desperately needed to get help and be saved. So I started working with those 2 shelters, and we ended up bringing in literally thousands per year to save them as part of that program, to get them out of the shelters where they had very limited options there. So as I progressed my career, and now I'm here at the Ames Animal Shelter, and very happy to say, and very proud to say, that over 98% of all of the living animals that come into our facility leave here alive. So that means we return them back to their original owners, or we find new homes for them. And one thing that's really important to me, and just such a focus in my life and my career and my compassion, is honesty, transparency. There's a lot of agencies, including some of those that I talked about earlier, that don't count every single animal that comes into the shelter. They determine that it's unadoptable as soon as it comes in, so they don't count that as part of their statistical data. I think that's dishonest. It's something the agency should not be doing. The unfortunate thing is that it happens all across the United States. To me, every beating heart, no matter what it is, what kind of critter it is, means something. It has meaning, it has value, it has life, it has feelings, it feels pain, it suffers. These are all things that's extremely important to me, to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to save them. So you can go to the next slide. So one of our divisions in our operation is the animal control operations. We take over 2,500 requests for field services a year. That involves calls like animals running at large, nuisance complaints, barking dogs, picking up animals that have been hit by cars. That's typically probably 97% wildlife. So raccoons, skunks, possums, birds, squirrels. You see it, you've probably seen quite a bit of it. We pick up those. Last year, we picked up 317. Animal cruelty and neglect investigations. This has really been something that's been a struggle for us over the last few years, because we do handle a lot of these cases. And for those of you that have been in our facility, you'll know that we're out of space. And when you have these large impound of seizures of animals, it's very difficult for us to be able to provide adequate and appropriate housing for these animals. So we're in the process of working with city manager's office and city council on seeing what we can do to rectify that, whether it's an expansion of this current facility or building a new facility. So more on that later, and hopefully much sooner than later. Animals left in vehicles, that's typically dogs that are left in their vehicles, in their owners' vehicles, typically in the summer months, but we also get calls in the winter months when it's temperatures like today and the next week that we're going to have. We had 118 of those in 2023. A few of those result in us removing the animals forcefully from the vehicles. A lot of them just mean us tracking down the owners to try to educate them and let them know that that's not safe. We deal with animal bites and quarantine. So if an animal bites somebody, we do the quarantine process. It's required by law to make sure that the animal does not have rabies for the person that dog bit or cat bit. And limited wildlife response. We do respond in some wildlife situations, but not just because someone wakes up, they go out to get their morning paper and they've seen a possum run across their yard. That's kind of a common call that we get. And there's probably just as many wildlife critters here as there are humans in Ames. So we really try and tell people just to coexist. If they appear to be injured or sick or something, we definitely want to respond to those. If we can work with rehabilitators or rescue groups, then we will absolutely do that. But sometimes the most humane thing that we can do is to say goodbye to them. If they've been hit by a car, they're suffering. A raccoon with a broken leg, it's not like we can put a cast on it and give it some aspirin and have it come back tomorrow morning for another pain pill. So we have to humanely say goodbye to them. And that's very difficult for us. And like I said, to us, wildlife matters just as much as our domestic animals. They feel that pain, they feel that suffering. So we're committed to helping any animal that's in that situation. And of course, humane education. We are constantly, every single day, talking to people about how to be a responsible pet owner, how to keep your pets identified, how to keep them at home, keep them vaccinated, make sure they're going to the vet for annual visits, things like that. Next slide. Next slide, please. And then the other operations we have here is the animal shelter operation. So this is the one that's the most challenging, of course, just for the fact that we are in a facility that was built over, I think, 28 years ago. So we're kind of busting at the seams. You'll see it coming up in a few slides. We had an animal hoarding case, a cat hoarding case that some of you may have heard about. 27 cats were removed from a single apartment. And I'll show you some pictures that are just absolutely devastating and just extremely difficult to look at. And we'll go through those quick for any of those that haven't had their lunch yet. One of the things that's really important to me is that we maintain the highest standards of care at our facility. So animals are treated with the utmost compassion, care, love, and respect that we can here. They're getting out for playtime with volunteers. Every morning they're getting fresh, clean. The cats are getting fresh litter boxes, getting all the care that they need. Again, the appropriate housing and the food that they need. A lot of these cats and that includes veterinary care. A lot of these cats you'll see from that that hoarding case were not getting the vet care that they required. So they were in really bad shape. So we're still working on some of that. Of course, pet adoption programs is very important to us. We have a lot of adoptions every year. I'll give you some of those numbers coming up. Working cats, those are feral cats that are born with really no human socialization or human contact from their birth. So these are cats that are trapped here in our community in a trap. Typically, they're brought to us. We get them spayed or neutered, rabies vaccinated, tested for feline leukemia, FIV, and making sure that they're negative for those. And if all that criteria is met and they're truly feral and they don't want that human contact and can't be adopted into a home environment, then we'll adopt them outside of the Ames community to like farms where they have barns and things like that, where they can kind of use them for rodent control. We prefer that their main food is they're getting fed from the human, but their smell and their scent and everything is keeping out the rodents from the barn feed and things like that. So it's not that they're meant to live off mice and rats. That would not be very kind of us as humans, but we want to make sure that they're fed just regular food too and kept, someone's keeping after them and watching them. If a pet's lost here in Ames, we of course will bring them here to our shelter. We have a website that's updated every 30 minutes. So as soon as an animal comes to our facility, within 30 minutes, their picture is going to be on our website. We post on Facebook also to let people know that the pets are here. So it kind of relieves some of those worries if a pet does get out. Last year, we took in 1,060 animals in 2023. And out of those, we had, as I mentioned earlier, a 98.26% live release rate for cats and dogs. So our primary animals coming into our facility are cats and dogs. So a 98.26% live release rate. Again, that's every beating heart. It doesn't matter if they're aggressive, they're trying to bite us, they're very sick, they're severely injured. That's 98.26% of them that left alive last year. As of January 5th, we have 159 active volunteers. And again, we couldn't achieve no kill without our volunteers here, because just throwing an animal in a cage is not enough. You have to be able to provide them everything that they need. So that's extremely important to us. Next slide. So for cats and kittens, our cat percent increases in adult cats are about that. was 8% from the prior year numbers. We received 499 cats and kittens. It's the second highest since 2008. We had 353 cat adoptions and kitten adoptions, the highest since 2008. We had 158 cats return to their owner, which is a 27.24% reclaim rate. The national average, which is very sad, is less than 5%. So what that tells me about the Ames community is that it's a very responsible community, and people here do really care for their pets. So I'm really proud of that and appreciate that. We had a 99.17% cat live release rate, and that's the highest in the history of the shelter. So very excited to achieve that number last year. Cats coming into a shelter are a huge challenge for us. They typically are the hoarding cases that we deal with. And cats just don't do well in shelters when they first get here. If any of you have cats at home, you kind of know how your cat is, and having it come to a shelter where it doesn't know anybody, it smells different, it looks different, it sounds different. Some cats would have a very difficult time in a shelter environment. So that's always a big challenge for us. And then for kittens, we had a 95.95 kitten live release rate. Again, that's every beating heart for all of those numbers there. Next slide, please.
Oh, sure.
Dogs and puppies, we had 181 return to their owner. Again, going back to a responsible community here in Ames, responsible pet owners. That was 81.82% reclaim rate, and the national average is somewhere between 10 and 30%. So even if we went to the high 30% for the national average, Ames is doing an amazing job. So again, thank you, Ames, and your responsible pet owners that are here. And we had a 98.38% live release rate for dogs. So again, every beating heart. 100% live release rate for puppies, and it has been 100% for the last 11 years. And then we had a 99.19% live release rate for dogs and cats combined in the history of the shelter. Next slide, please. Rabbits, interestingly enough, we only had 4 last year, and that's the lowest number that we've had in 17 years. So, and we had 100% live release rate. Every single one of those 4 made it out and into a new home last year. So I probably just jinxed myself. This might be a really difficult year for us this in 2024, but we'll see how that goes. So these are also very special creatures that deserve special care in our facility too. So we need to make sure we have the appropriate space for them as well. Next slide. And then small pets, the numbers are down actually. So if you look at this is a presentation that I had 2 years ago when we were doing a hoarding case where someone had a lot of these mice. Those are aquariums full of mice that my team and I were bringing in from a single 1-bedroom house that had at this, so it's not the 48, I think it was, the final number was 110 of these little critters. So between hamsters and mice and rats and guinea pigs. So people think that these pets are easy to care for and you can easily maintain them. And the reality is they do take a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to clean up after them. They could be a little on the stinky side. So got to make sure they're kept clean and fed properly. Next slide. I mentioned wildlife. We had 311 calls for wildlife last year. This is a number that I'm not happy about, but the reality is there's limited resources for us when it comes to wildlife. You see Lisa there holding a baby skunk. Not a whole lot of people want baby skunks in their house, but if you do, let me know. So we work with rehabilitators to deal with them. That's a baby possum or a baby raccoon, and then a fox that got his legs stuck between the slats of a wood fence that we got out. Got him out of the fence. He was not happy with us, and got him out of the fence, made sure that he was okay, and then released him right there on the spot. So that was one that we were able to return right back to nature just as soon as we went out there and made sure that that he was okay. So next slide. And one of the most difficult situations that we deal with, you can see on that mattress there, what you think that is on that mattress is what is on that mattress. There was 20, this is the case where there was 27 cats living under those conditions. Just absolutely horrific. The cat that's climbing up one of our animal control officers' legs, you can see that the eyes, it's got crusted eyes, essentially from upper respiratory infections. Horrible, horrible situations for those. You can go to the next slide because I'm sure people don't want to keep looking at that. Out of those 27 cats, we were able to save 26 of them. One of them was so far gone, it was at Iowa State University for a few days. And the attending vet there called me and said, Ron, it's time to say goodbye. It was just suffering too much from disease and so on. So, but these guys here, this is in our shelter. So this is actually the night that we took in all of those cats. So they went from living on that mattress and that environment to living on nice, clean beds. You can see they're relaxed. They're enjoying life. They're all thriving at this point. We've actually gotten several of them adopted. They'll continue to be available for adoption until we get all 26 of them adopted. But we've had really good success with these. And again, these are situations that we can't plan for. We never know when we're going to get a phone call that says, hey, you know, whether it's the police department or just a neighbor that says, hey, it really stinks over here. And then we go in the house and find we have 30, 40, 50, 60 cats or dogs or other kinds of critters. So in our facility, again, this is a challenge trying to be prepared to be able to house these animals right now. And right now we're at maximum capacity, which we're typically not at this time of the year. It's the winter months. It's supposed to be much slower for shelters, but it's not this year. And it wasn't last year either with the hoarding cases from last year. Next slide. So that is it. Is there any questions that anyone has for me?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I'm not sure if you're able to open the chat, but I just had popped a question in there for you. Are there, I have a few questions, but are there household items or other that you could use for donations? I saw some of the pictures, you know, look like there were some blankets and things like that. And then would you also take in like uneaten pet food?
Yes, we do.
I asked that because we just had to put down our cat a few weeks ago. She was elderly and it was time for her to go, but we have some uneaten pet food that's just sitting around. Cat food anyways. We have a dog, so we can't feed him that, but curious
Sure.
what donation wise, what you just household items and pet food.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sorry to hear about your kitty. Absolutely. We can definitely take any kind of pet supplies that are not needed. Things that we can't use here at the shelter, we do share with other organizations, whether it's other animal shelters, rescue groups.
Okay.
There's even wildlife rehabilitators that can use some of that dry food and even canned food for whatever critters that they're taking care of. So we definitely use that. Other household items, towels, blankets, sheets, things like that. These are all things that we use and we go through quite a bit. So, you know, if we end up using bleach on one, it gets bleached and everything. We don't feel as guilty about throwing it away because we do get quite a few donated, but definitely think about us when you have those items that we can use.
Okay. I had another one. Curious of what other kind of critters you find yourself mixed up with, like snakes or spiders, things of that nature. Some more
That was on my
exotic
list.
type things. So, oh, sorry, Jeff, I didn't mean to steal your question.
Nope, that was on my list.
Yeah, you know, we get quite a variety, and especially when we're talking about wildlife. You know, I mentioned some of them earlier: possums, raccoons, skunks, a lot of birds, snakes. Don't deal with too many spiders. We have had some tarantulas that were brought in here to us. Not really something that we would normally deal with. But some different, you know, type exotic animals. We had a hoarding case a few years ago where they had a glass lizard, which is a snake-like looking lizard, very strange looking critter. Of course, you know, guinea pigs, chinchillas, all kinds of domesticated birds. We work with Iowa Wildlife Center, which is an amazing organization. They deal with all kinds of birds and bats and things like that. So we never know what's going to happen and what's going to come into our facility, to be honest with you.
Ron, could you walk us through the adoption process?
Sure. Yeah, we try to we try to have the process start online. We do have an online application. If someone's not available to go online and look at the pets that we have available for adoption, but that's amesanimalshelter.org, which you see there on the slide. They'll kind of start there. If you kind of scroll through, you can see all of the dogs we have available for adoption. At this point, it's just 2 puppies, but are very cute puppies. We have a lot of cats and kittens, of course. We don't have any rabbits or guinea pigs right now, but we typically do. So right now it's just pretty much the cats and the 2 puppies that we have. There's an application they fill out online, and once that gets approved, we schedule a time for the person to come down here, spend one-on-one time with that particular animal, and then let them see if it's going to be a good match with them. If it is, hopefully we've already got it all spayed and neutered, but everything has fully vaccinated, spayed or neutered, microchipped, everything has been done to it before it goes home. And then hopefully we can send it home with them that day.
What's the pricing, if any?
Yes, we actually, we're not here to make money, but every animal that we have spayed or neutered, we're actually paying more for the spay and neutering than it is for the adoption. And that's okay. Our goal is to make it, to make sure that we're finding good homes for these animals. So right now we're doing a special on adult cat adoptions because we want to try and get some of these adult cats adopted, including the hoarding cats. They're only $25. Normally they're $100. And the puppies or dogs are $100. So normally our adoption fee for cats and puppies is $100. Rabbits is $40, $10 for hamsters, mice, guinea pigs, things like that.
Third question for you. Has the weather, the way it's been unseasonable, has that impacted squirrels, thinking that it's a different time of the year, which would add to the number that I've been seeing on the road killed?
Yeah, it does. Anytime there's changes in the weather, I think it throws off their whole system. So we tend to see, the offspring, either coming sooner or later. That's the same thing with domestic animals too. We'll see some, late season kittens coming into the shelter, which are typically at this time, we're not seeing kittens come in, but we do have some kittens here at the shelter. Some were from the hoarding case, but we know they're out there. So hopefully we're going to hear about those and they'll be coming into the shelter because we look at the temperatures this next week. It's not safe for them to be out there, little kittens, or even when you talk about wildlife, baby squirrels or raccoons, whatever the case is, it could be deadly for them.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Ron, I have a couple questions. First, when did you come to Ames? How many years have you been here?
Yeah, it was August of 2013, so just over 10 years now.
Okay, awesome. And my other question is silly, but if you're adopting hamsters, do you spay and neuter hamsters?
We do not, but we
Okay.
make sure that they are sexed properly because unfortunately some of the pet stores, and I won't mention any names, but they sometimes don't check that real closely, and it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For little small ones, if they're a little bit older, then the boys are pretty obvious. Then you end up with a whole lot of hamsters or a whole lot of rats or guinea pigs or whatever the case is. So
yeah, I've had that happen to 3 of my friends now that got their children a hamster or 2 hamsters, and then they end up with 25 hamsters. So that's terrifying to me.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And hamsters are a challenge to begin with because they all like to bite. So that's the reality of hamsters.
Good to know.
Interesting. Ron, we do have some questions in the chat, so I'll kind of fire them at you if that's okay.
Yes.
All right. From Tom Walsh, is the population of fox and coyotes increasing in the area, and is your shelter dealing with these animals?
So as far as the numbers, it's really hard to say. Typically at this time of the year, the coyotes are coming into town. It's warmer. Their food sources out in the outskirts of the city limits are not as plentiful. So we tend to see more of them coming in. So we get a lot more reports about them. There's really not a whole lot we can do. They're very smart creatures. We can try and set traps, but a lot of times they're not going to go into the traps. They can sense that danger. And even though it's a humane trap, it's not going to hurt them. There's also a DNR doesn't really recommend relocating these animals because you're setting them off into a different, potentially bringing disease into a different area if there is that situation. So it's always a challenge. As far as the fox, we get reports every single year, and I think they just kind of move around in different areas. And I don't know that there's any more or less. It's really kind of hard to say. You know, we have such ends of the spectrum. We have people that absolutely love them and take pictures of them, and you know, they feed them. Don't do that. You know, they really are somewhat their outdoor pets. And then you have people that absolutely want to eradicate every single wildlife critter that's here in our community. And the reality is you just can't do that. And honestly, nor should we. You know, we need to coexist and share our world with them as well. A lot of them were here way before we were. So think about opossums, how long they've been around. So you got to figure out how to coexist with them, not leave food out for them. So you're attracting them to your area. We have a lot of information on our website about how you can do some of those things. So people should check that out and figure out how to deal with wildlife.
Okay, thank you. From Glenn Ripke, I've heard from a volunteer that the facility is too small for a vast amount of work that you do. Overcrowding is a problem. Do you feel your facility is inadequate?
Absolutely. I won't sugarcoat that one. I mentioned, I think during my interview when I came here from California that, because I had toured the facility, that I thought that we could do better. And as I mentioned earlier about me wanting to advance not just my career, but advance animal welfare and everything all together. I looked at, you know, the way we were housing animals and everything here, and we can do better, and we should. And I know that the city is committed to doing that. We just got to go through that process to get that to happen.
Great. A couple more here. Are there Ames, from Diane Borkland, are there any Ames area veterinarians in addition to ISU that offer discounted rates to help stretch your funding?
So we do at every opportunity try to work with vets that will give us some kind of discounted fees or services. There's one really big one here in the community. I'm not going to mention names, but one that you would think that we get discounts from, and unfortunately that's not the case. We do a lot of emergency vet care and kind of the critical surgical care situations at Blue Pearl down in Des Moines. That's a shame. It would be nice to go right here in our back door and be able to get services, but that's just not the case. So not to say that we never use them, but we do. You know, we have to make those dollars stretch. We have to make those donations stretch. So when you're talking about $3,000-$4,000 for some extensive surgery, we just had a cat that had a massive tumor above her eye that had to be removed. They had to take the eye out as well. You know, that was about a $3,000 surgery. But again, that's being committed to the no-kill status that we have and wanting to do that. And I think the people that donate to us also want us to do that as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Last question in the chat from Jamie Courtney. Maybe you talked about this, but do those neglect cases end with prosecution, or is there some sort of penalty for those homeowners or property owners or what have you?
Yeah. So this is a situation that's very frustrating for me. Coming from California, there's really good animal welfare protection laws. California has a lot of its own issues, believe me, I know that. But when it comes to animal welfare protection, there's a lot of teeth, so to speak, when it comes to doing some of these things. And a lot of these hoarding cases, it truly is a mental health issue. We understand that, we get that. My priority is caring for the animals. It's someone else's priority to take care of them and get them the mental health care that they need. But that really has to go through the process with the attorneys, the county attorney, the judge that makes that mandatory mental health counseling that really helps them get the help that they need, because it is a disease, and the recidivism with those cases is so high. It's almost 100%. So all of these people that we have dealt with in these cases, they're going to do it again, that whether it's here in our community or another community. And the scary thing is, do we hear about it? Are we ever going to find out about it? Or is it just happening somewhere out in the county area and we don't know anything about it? So that's always a challenge there.
Ron, how were we lucky to get you? How did you find out about Ames, Iowa?
You know, I it's interesting. I looked up information about the shelter and the agency, and I had never been to Iowa, and came here for the interview and just absolutely fell in love. It was in the middle of the summer, which is not my best time of the year, but it was so green and beautiful. And yes, it was a ton of corn and everything. But when you're in Southern California and there's a drought and everything is brown and ugly and gross, that green is just the most amazing thing in the world. So just fell in love with it here. And I knew that I wanted to retire someplace where I had that sense of community, that care, that small town environment, even though Ames is big, but it's a very different environment than Los Angeles, obviously. So just have never regretted once that decision to come this way, and couldn't be happier that I'm here now.
Well, please accept our welcome to Ames, even though it's late.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Ron, we really appreciate the time that you've given us today to give us some more insight into what you and your great organization do for our community and for the animals and pets. And I think we can all tell, even though we're just sitting through a computer screen, I think it's pretty clear what a passion and love and care you have and compassion for animals, big and small. So we're as kind of Jeff pointed out, yeah, we're lucky to have you. So we're glad that you're here and appreciate what you do. And so thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, with that, we'll close here as we're coming up on the top of the hour. So I found an anonymous quote, and it's a very short one for Ron's, in light of Ron's presentation today. It says, "You can't buy love, but you can rescue it. So please consider, if it's in your heart and in your home, potentially rescuing a pet." So with that, please join me as we recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be good? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.